Well, I think the outlook is quite good. I have to say that, but no, I do, and from a micro sort of picture, because we've having talked about the macro, I think there are some really interesting things, and some of them are quite basic. You know, it's pretty cold up there for a long part of the year, and therefore that works pretty well for shopping centres. Yeah, you want to be inside. Yeah, I mean it's simple but true.
And also for sheds with Facebook and Apple, etc. Now taking huge space on the logistics front or shed front because it's cooler.
Yeah, and I think that if you then look at how the market sort of has evolved and how it stands now, it's quite a fractured market in terms of ownership. And I think that plays for an opportunity. It's also a sort of slightly interesting market from a retail perspective in terms of who the retailers are, because it's very inward focused, very domestically dominated, not that many international retailers. But I think that over time that will change, and that is what we see as the opportunities to sort of enable that to change. And that I think will drive wealth. I think also the role of a number of the shopping centres that we see and we own within their communities is quite interesting. They effectively have been around for 30, 40 years, and they play the role of the town centre. So there's very much a community aspect to these things, and that I think is really interesting. I think then if you look at what we're seeing with the turnovers, I mean, we're still seeing 3-4% turnover growth in terms of the sales, and ultimately that will flow through into where rents go, and I think that's quite good. I also think that because I think there hasn't been a sort of a very structured ownership of retail, we're finding lots of opportunities to buy and improve centres. I mean, through just doing fairly basic things, sometimes a little bit more advanced. So I see, you know, lots of different opportunities there to drive growth. You know, but on top of this fairly stable sort of macro picture. So risk adjusted, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And I would say, as we're going to one of the points that we said, is that particularly in Sweden, you know, it's not just about Stockholm actually in the retail side. I mean, you've got some, because of these large manufacturing companies, some real pockets of wealth all around the place, more to the south than to the north of Stockholm. And you also have some incredibly strong university cities, which themselves are creating sort of real sort of little pockets of wealth and dynamic growth. And I think that, so there's opportunities around the place, and we see that as quite interesting from a sort of competitive perspective, because there are a lot of people who don't go outside of Stockholm actually, and I think there's a lot of things to be done outside of Stockholm. I mean, I think there are developments that are coming on. There's actually far less development than there has been historically, and I think that's an interesting factor. Some of these new developments will have an impact. Will they have a really big impact for a long period of time? I don't think so. If anything, they are good overall for the market because they might bring in new tenants. But no, I think there's just plenty of opportunity on the investment side. I mean, I think e-commerce is here, it's growing. It's actually not as prevalent in Scandinavia as in many other countries. I mean, so I suspect its market share will grow, but you know, you just need to be able to adapt your physical real estate to take into account that and actually sort of embrace it. I think that what we're seeing is that the area of e-commerce that is working by far and away the best is in the sort of click and collect model. And so I think that, you know, our view is that these assets that play the role of the centre of the community seem to be the perfect sort of location for click and collect. So I mean, we're trying to really sort of bring that in to help our investments.